Afọ m bụ Igwe Iweka, eze Iweka nke ịtọ, eze Obosi. Otu nsi wee too, ịjụwa otu nsi wee too, amụ m n'Obosi a. Ndị be anyị bi na mgbada Obosi, ya bụ ebe a na-akpọ Iweka. Kịta bụ ebe Fabi, bụ ebe nna nna m bụ eze Iweka nke izizi. Nna ya bụ Warrant Chief a na-akpọ Ata Obosi, bụ onye na-azụ afịa. Ọ na-azụ afịa okike bụ ife a na-adị ka mpi, na-adị enyi elefant n'ọnụ. Afịa ọ na-azụ mgbe ọ na-eje gala through the river jee bute ya nata. Ya bụ onye bụ Ata Iweka, bụ onye amụta eze Iweka nke izizi. Afọ ya bụ Israel Ebo Iweka. Ọ ya bụ diọkpara ya. Olu oge Ajayi Crowder bịa ịgbasa ozi ọma, o wee gbasara ya ozi ọma, bụ ya bụ Ata Iweka nke mụtara eze Iweka nke izizi. Gbasasịara ya ozi ọma maka ịfụ agbata obi n'anya otu isi fụ onwe n'anya. Mmadụ maa ya ụla, gị debe ntị nke ọzọ, gị anụkwa n'ọgụ. Ọnya bụ ife ịrịba ama mee ya. O wee sị na alụsị a unu bụ wee bịa, nke unu kpọrọ Jizọs Kraịst, na ọmalịcha ife ka ọ bụ, na ebe ọ bụ na nọọ ịfụnanya ka unu na-aka, bụ ife mmadụ niile ga na-eme, ife gbasara ịfụnanya. Na ya ga-akpọ nyefa nwa ya nwoke, ofu nwa ya nwoke a na-akpọ Ebo. Unu kpọbịa na ya bụ ụka, maka na nyanwa nọ n'omenala ndị si n'azụ erika na ya ma enwenwe ike ịgabazi n'ụzọ a, ụzọ ọfụ anụ unu ji bịa. Mana iji gosi unu na mụ kweta na ezigbo ife ka ọ bụ, meenụ nwa nwoke a kpọrọ na ya. Ọ ya dị ebe arọ isaa maọbụ arọ asatọ ite naanị mgbe ahụ. Fa wee kpọrọ ya, wee gụọ ya n'ọnụ ụka nke a na-akpọ baptizim. Fa wee gụọ ya Israel. Onye ka o ji bụzie Israel Ebo Iweka. Mesizie bụrụ eze Iweka nke mbụ. Ọ ya bụ onye delụ akwụkwọ a, ochie akwụkwọ a, na 1925 ka a pọblishi ya. Akwụkwọ anyị na-afụ anya. Ya nwalụkwa ochie ụna bụ o ji melụ Palace, ọlụ ụna na 1908. Ọnya bụ eze Iweka nke mbụ n'Obosi, bụ onye bido na-akụ ọra market ebe a, wee kwalụ ụzọ wee lụọ main market, ka ndị mpaghara niile a, ma ndị si Nnewi, ma ndị si Ọba, ma ndị si Akwa Ukwu, ma ndị si Obosi ebe a, ka fafụ ụzọ ji eje afịa n'ọnụ mmiri, bụ ebe ndị ọcha nọ. Oge afọ slave trade, ndị a na-ego n'oru ebupụ akwụsịnatago mgbe ahụ. Ọ bụrụzie afịa ka a na-azụ. Ndị be anyị na ndị ọcha na-azụ ya bụ afịa, na afịa mmanụ, afịa ife a na-eyi ga-eyi, afịa azụmamụ egbe, mana afịa cowrie shells, kedu ife a na-akpụ ya, ivory and so on. Ọnya bụ eze Iweka nke mbụ. Ya mụtazi nna m, mụta diọkpara ya bụ Isaac Emenike Iweka, bụ mụtakwa onye a na-akpọ Jonas Emenanjọ Iweka, bụ nna mụnwa. Emenanjọ Isaac bụ onye gụrụ na DMGS. Ọgụ ya bụ onye izizi pionia na ya bụ DMGS Dennis Memorial Grammar School ya na nwanne ya nwoke bụ nna m bụ Emenanjọ Iweka fana bụ ụkwụ ka fa na-eji eje akwụkwọ wee si ebe a wee jebe na si obosi ebe a wee jebe na DMGS ebe ọ dị kịta fa jekọtazie nna fa mebe ofe ebele wee gote ofe ife a na-akpọ ọ na 1925 ka anya bụ Eze Iweka nke ịbụa bụ injinia mesị bụrụ injinia Emenike Isaac Emenike Iweka na nwanne ya bụ Jonas Emenanjọ wee gote ofe ife a na-akpọ tandem bicycle ya bicycle mmadụ na-abụ ọ na-enwe pedal n'iru wee pedal n'azụ nwee oche na-abụ onye a na-epedal onye nke a na-epedal kwa wee na-aga ọnya ka ya bụ Isaac Emenanjọ Isaac Emenike Iweka otu a ka o si wee bụrụ the first student of DMGS wee mesịa bụrụ the first senior prefect nke DMGS ya na nwanne ya nwoke agụsịzịa nwanne fa nwaanyị nke tọlụfa atọ nke a na-akpọ Eunice Ikeazọ nwa abọgọ Ikeazọ mgbe ọ nụzụrụ di mana Eunice Iweka bụ ada Eze Iweka 1 ọ ya tọtalụ Eze Iweka nke ịbụa tọtakwa nna m fagụsizie akwụkwọ o nwere ebe ụlọ akwụkwọ ụmụ nwanyị adịrọzi mgbe ahụ aka adịrọ mgbe ahụ and site na ọ bụkwa nwa eze ka ọ bụ nne ya wee sị na ọ ma akwụsịnata akwụkwọ bụ adị ya nwaanyị ama akwụsịnata akwụkwọ na ọ ga-ejebe ọ ga-anọ na ya bụ praịmarị skuul ọka ọ gụsịrị 6 o nwere skuul ọbụla dị maka ụmụ nwanyị ewee debe nne ya wee sị na o mesi n'ụlọ akwụkwọ pụta ewee gwa ndị na-elekọta skuul afọ anya Central School Obosia wee debere ya bench n'iru special bench ndị fani ya gụsị akwụkwọ bụ ụmụ nwoke gbagobezia jebe secondary school ya nwa nọdụzia na bench ahụ onwe ndị ọzọ gbagotakwa from 5 to 6 a na-anọ n'azụ ya iji gosi na ya nwa agụsigo mana ebe ụlọ akwụkwọ ọ ga-eje adịrọ maka mgbe a ka enwere ụlọ akwụkwọ maka ụmụ nwanyị ya bụ nwanyị mesịa bụrụ midwife mesịa onye nụbalịa bụrụ the first indigenous police commissioner in the southeast, in the eastern region, bụ Ikeazọ, commissioner of police Ikeazọ. Onye amụta Chimezie Ikeazọ, SAN, nke legal aid. Nke ọ tọzịlụ bụ Isaac Emenike Iweka, mesizie bụrụ Eze Iweka nke ịbụa wee bụrụ the first Igbo engineer ngwa anyị na ya bụ the pioneer student and first senior prefect of DMGS Dennis Memorial Grammar School mesịa ka a nọbara agha ọ bụrụ commander in chief Odumegwu Ojukwu mee ya administrator of Onitsha province ọnọdụ ka gọvanọ ọ ka agha bizi na 1974 ka o chiziri eze wee bụrụzie Eze Iweka nke ịbụa nwanne ya nwoke bụzi nna m jee obodo oyibo gụọ medicine bụrụkwa dọkịnta na-agba ntụtụ na-enye ọgwụ ọ dịkwa ka nke ịtọ ka ọ bụ na ya bụ South East nwanne ya bụrụ first Igbo engineer nke fatọ bụ Mrs. Grace Agbasmalo, Grace Iweka, Iweka Agbasmalo, anụrụ ya n'ọba. Ọnyanwa mesi bụrụ the first major hotelier enwe na mpaghara ya. Bụrụkwa manufacturer, maka na ọ na-eme dye a na-akpọ osingo dye, bụ mgbe a na-edistribute ya. Ịma na oge gboo aka enwebara brands and enwego otu o si dị mgbe ahụ. Mana ya bụ the first woman, nwanyị izizi mepụtaba manufacture etu ife ahụ. Nwekwa hotels, nwekwa ife ọ na-emepụta. Nke ọtọ bụrụ Mrs. Egwu Iweka, nke afọ gaba mesịa bụrụ the first female pharmacist in the Eastern region. Then nke bụzi nke ikpeazụ bụ Mrs. Okechukwu Ojugo Okechukwu Iweka, bụ last born, ya nwa nke ikpeazụ. Bụrụ the first female photographer amara amalụ na-ese foto dị egwu amalụ amalụ, mee the first boutique ebe ụmụ nwanyị na-eje edoziga ya isi na mgbe afọ onwe ka ụbọchị si dị mgbe ahụ. Ya bụ na ebe Eze Iweka nwa ọ zụrụ ụmụ ya ọfụma. Nna fa fụrụ ụzọ na gboo. Oluzie na nke anyị, mụnwa mgbe eji wee mụ m, anyị bi na ebe Iweka, na ebe a na-akpọzi Iweka kịta, maka na obosi dị ebe ahụ, na-agbanyeghị na ndị mmadụ na-akpọ ya Ọnịcha. Ebe a ilukwa ebe anyị afụ ochie ụlọ dị otu abụ ụlọ my grandfather Eze Iweka one. Ma na-abịa na maternity, nwanne fa nwaanyị, nwanne nna m bụ Mrs. Ikeazọ, mgbe anyị na midwife, ka akwara ya records ya gosiri na o deliver over 5,000 babies in her maternity. Maka na mgbe maternity ya dịrọ mpaghara niile a obosi wee pụọ Nnewi, onwe nwaanyị ime na-ememesi ike akpọta ya ba ọ na-aya nwa. Na-esi ebe niile mana Ọnịcha, osi ọba ebe niile abịa amụ nwa na maternity dị ebe a. Ebe a ka a mụrụ m, ebe a ka a nọ wee mụ m. Ọ dị fụ isi fụ na gate palace, ọ dị within our premises. Ịpụ afọ ị ga-afụ ya bụ maternity, ọ ka dị otu ọ dị na gboo. Ya bụ ụbọchị afọ amụrụ m, ọ n'abalị ka amụrụ m. Mmụọ abalị nke a na-akpọ Ayaka n'ala Igbo, mana anyị nwa na-akpọ ya Omegwala onye. Ya bụ mmanwụ na-agafeta ka a mụpụta m. Mmanwụ a na ndị otu ya n'ime abalị a, fa na-abịa fa na-eti ọkụwe ọkụwe ọkụwe. Tupu fe elute n'ụlọ ya, emenyụsi ọkụ niile dị n'ụlọ ya, maka na mmanwụ abalị. Ụmụ nwanyị ezo mana fa abịazi n'iru maternity ya, pitch darkness, ebe niile dị dark n'ime uchichi. O wee bịa n'iru maternity ya wee kwụrụ wee gụba egwu. Fa gụọ egwu ifelu half an hour. Ụmụ nwanyị ma ndị ime na-eme ma ndị mụrụ nwa ọfụ, fa ncha niile zosia n'okpuru bed. Kedu ife mmụọ abalị na-achọ n'ebe a? Mmanwụ na-agafe agafe wee kwụrụ n'iru maternity ya na-agụ. Ọ ya merụ na nne m na-abụ mme emume dị aṅa, ọsị ọkwari nke a mụpụta mmụọ abalị ya na-agụ egwu n'iru maternity. Mana mgbe anyị amarọ ife ọ bụ na ka emesizi o gosipụta. Eru eji mụ m ka m pelu mpe, enwere m ọkpa ogologo. Anụ m agbatakwa bọọlụ na-echeta goolu ọfụma. Mgbe ahụ agụ m na All Saints Cathedral School Ọnịcha, mana ọ bụrụ ebe ọ dị kịta a na-akpọ Premier, ọ bụrụ ebe ọ dị na Ọka Road kịta, anọ na n'ime ebe a na-akpọzi GRA ka ọ dịzi kịta a na-akpọ ya Ugwu ndị ọcha mgbe ahụ maka na ọsọ ndị ọcha bi ebe a ka ụlọ akwụkwọ anyị dị ọtụtụ ndị nkụzi anyị bụgasị ndị ọcha ndị anyị na-ama ebe fa siga na ndị ọcha n'izizi anyị na-aghọtakwa ebe fa na-asụ na nwayọ nwayọ ka anyị jizi wee ghọtaba maka ejiri oyibo wee zụọ anyị otu ọtụtụ parents ọtụtụ nne na nna na-eji oyibo azụ ụmụfa kịta mee na ọtụtụ ụmụaka amụ na Anambra steeti a na-anụ Igbo ọ bụla nnukwu ife ifele maka na anyị nwa otu esi zụọ anyị Igbo ka eji zụọ anyị ana anyị bụ ndị eji Igbo wee zụ mesịrị mụta oyibo na-asụkwa ka ndị ọcha ma anyị chọọ ịsụ gosi na onye ọbụla kwesịrị ịzụ nwa ya na ala Igbo zụọ ya ọ bụrụ onye Igbo na-asụ Igbo maka na ọ bụrụ ndị bido n'ịsụ oyibo wee na nwa ọ bụrụ ọfa na-asụkarịsị ma mgbe ebu elu nọ na ọtụtụ ndị be anyị aghọtara ejikwa m ohere a wee na-ayọ ndị be anyị n'Igbo na-efu efu asụsụ Igbo na-efu efu omenala anyị na-efu efu ọtụtụ ife anyị na-eme bụzi ka anyị ṅomie ndị ọcha maka nchiakwa na ebe anyị na-ekwu eto m jee na ya bụ sekọndịrị skuul jesịa ya wee banye mba na ebe ya bụ praịmarị skuul bụ All Saints mgbe anyị adịghị nne ofu klaasị anyị nwere ike dị mmadụ 10 ma mmadụ 8 mgbe afọ a na-afụta ya as ụlọ akwụkwọ ndị oke ozu akwa ife mana otu osi na dị anyị gụsịa nke a banye sekọndịrị skuul ya bụ ndị seti m na 1967 ka m banye gọọmenti skuul Owerri gọọmenti kọleji Owerri na ya ka m nọzi agha wee bido agha Biafra na Naịjirịa wee bido ya bụ na wee nababe nna ya anyị sizie ebe a gbaa ọsọ anyị sizie na Ọnịcha mgbe ndị amị ndị nke Naịjirịa bidozi bata Asaba oge gbukpọsị ndị mmadụ wee tụba bọmbụ si na Asaba wee na-atụ bọmbụ na-atụ shelling a na-akpụ ya mortars and shells artillery Ọnịcha wee gbaa ọsọ maka na ndị be anyị afụnụrụ ife dị otu ahụ mgbe ahụ ọtụtụ mmadụ rapụrụ ụmụfa ma ụmụaka amụrụ ọfụrụ n'elu akwa wee gbaa ọsọ maka na afụnụrụ ụdị a ọ wee bụ na agbasi ọsọ anyị nwa gbadata obosi a oluzie mgbe ọ dịkwazi ya bụ bọmbụ dabazi ife dị na obosi anyị gbada ụga nọdụ na be Roy Umenyi mesịa anyị chietakwa azụ oluzie oge ọ kazi njọ nke dị egwu wee gbana Nnobi ife melụ n'ahịa ọ dị ọtụtụ mana nke m na-elotakarịsị bụ agụụ karịrị wee lesịa ife mmemme afọrọ m wee jee lụta trọk a na-akwa akwa wee were ya na-anọ n'afịa mụ na nwanne m nke ntọ a na-akpọ Goribe Jantamanta anyị na-anọ n'afịa onwe onye gosi ife ma ndị chọọ ka echuo ife mmiri anyị na-akwa anyị kwagidekwa ya bụ trọk na-akwata ego wee na-enyekwalụ famili aka ndị be eruchalụ na Nnobi nyelụ nna m ụlọ akwụkwọ a na-akpọ St. Simon na Nnobi nna m wee welụ ebe a wee melụ ụlọ ọgwụ ya bidokwa chọkọtaba ọgwụ mana oge a na-anụ ahịa adafụ ọgwụ adafụ nnu adafụ nni adafụ ife ọbụla ụmụ ife a na-aṅụga aṅụ beverages na ife niile bụ management mana otu a ka anyị si wee mebegidezi ndị World Council maka ndị so nna m wee gbaa ọsọ bụ ndị obosi pakarị ka e nwee ife a na-akpọ 200 n'Igbo pakarị 200 people so nna m si ebe ọ bụla ịgbaje na ebe anyị ga-esoghị eluzi ebe a owelu ụlọ ọgwụ ya welu bili ebili na the headmaster's quarters Eruchalụ one Mr. Eruchalụ Enobi was the headmaster then. So he released the entire school, Rapala school in Webili. Adazikwa m na ya bụ ebe wee sị maka na enwe m ọkpa ogologo ọtụtụ ndị ọgbọ m adịghị ekwu okwu ịba amị mana ebidogoro m akwụkwọ na Prince Okoli Commercial Institute ngụ n'ahịa afọ anyị nwoke bụ Ụzọma Okoli bụ onye ọgbọ m bụ nna ya nwe Prince Okoli Commercial Institute n'Ọnịcha mana mgbe a gbara ọsọ ọ bịakwazi mee ya na Nnobi nsorozi aja na-agụ akwụkwọ ebe a mana agatazi m akwụkwọ ahụ wee sị na nga aba amị ya bụ mụ na Ụzọma Okoli wee jee the first army selection maka anyị tosiri ogologo tokarịsịa ndị ọgbọ anyị jee army selection nke izizi achụọ anyị ọsọ isi anyị ilu ụdọ ya bụ isi ilu enyi ya asị gafeta for training mana anyị etinyezi isi n'ụdọ isi anyị gafee ụdọ achụpụ anyị maka fan anya fụ na anyị bụ ụmụaka mana emesịrị nje banye 8th Commando Brigade Calabar Strike Force anabata m n'ifi na etolu m etolu ike dị m eze ebe a ka m si bụ eze sorozie wee mebe ife a na-eme anyị nụ ọgụ na sektọ ebe nkwele ezinaka experience izizi m bụ n'azụ St. Charles ka isi wee banye wee mee atak ọ bụ na-eche anyị eche njinji wee jie enafie arụ mesịa esikwa ebe a buje anyị na-adazi anyị mana ebe a anyị adịrị ebe a ka anyị nọzi ewesikwa ebe a bujebe anyị ebe saịdị Ụzụ Akọlị ịma mgbe anyị pere mpe adị m amazụ ebe niile anyị jega mana ama na Chineke zọọ m na ya bụ ahịa maka na mgbe ọdọ ka afe m shell tichi m ntị anụrụ m ife for days n'ọsọ whistle ka m na-anụ na ntị ma ọtụtụ ife anyị na-afịarụ nwoge anyị dị cut off behind the enemy lines ma emesịa Chineke mekwala anyị amara esi na ya pụta ebe anyị nọ bụ na saịdị Ụzụ Akọlị ahụ ka anyị na ahịa wee bie na nkwele ka ndị Biafra seti military police ịdị na-anapụta ndị amị na-anatazi anata n'iru St. Catherine's nkwere ya n'ezi n'Imo steeti na ka a na-anapụta ndị mmadụ egbe n'iru oge a bụ Batsman onye a na-akpọ Darlington Agụrụ ana m na 8th Commando Brigade Calabar Strike Force ma anyị na-anatazi ebe a ka a nọ wee sị m sọrenda egbe wee sịfa mba ama enyefe egbe ịma na nwatakịrị ka m ama enyefe egbe na egbe a bụ m ji aka m wee kapịa wee kụwa m isi abụ okpu maka na enwerezi m belt egbe a wee kekụọ ma n'onu ma n'arụ m kụwa m isi abụ ọga m bụ Darlington Agụrụ wee nye m ọda otu ndị amị si enye ọda m rilizi elofe egbe weririze ofu egwu mana ife eti ma adịgo karịrị akarị ma ọkpa agba ma agba ebe a na-anapụta m ebe ahụ emezie ụmụ nwaanyị na-elegasị oroma ebe a mebezie ma ebele obere nwa ebezie na-eweluga mkpụrụ isi na-atọgbu ya n'ọkpa m mkpụrụ isi ju n'ọkpa m ewee sizi ebe a nataba ọka ahịa si wee bi ahịa nke m si wee bi ahịa anyị ncha wee bịa agụkwa m na DMGS ka ahịa bizi ebidokwazi akwụkwọ ebido m akwụkwọ na Obosi echigharazi m na Owerri bido akwụkwọ na Obosi Community Secondary School mana ejigo bọmbụ n'oge ahịa wee tụrisi anya bụ skuul so ya bụ na ebe anyị bidoro akwụkwọ bụ na be Ikeazọ ebe Ikeazọ Oboli formerly bụ my cousin bụ from yeah, the founder of Legal Aid, the Legal Aid of Nigeria. Abịa ka anyị na-agụ ịgbagozi akwụkwọ a na-akpọ akwụkwọ Win the War ọ bụsịrị ezigbo akwụkwọ maka na anyị nwere textbooks anyị nwere ife niile bụ na a na-emebi efe otu ha mana ọ ka anyị bụsizi ka anyị chọpụtara na ọ nwere ife mere anyị n'ahịa a anyị bụ ndị ụmụaka ndị jelụ ya bụ tụmadụ ọ na-emekwa ndị okenye ndị oyibo ghọtara ya na ejesi ahụ dị ife a ụfọdụ ndị n'idi what do you call it, the briefing, the programming and all that. Mana anyị nwere such na ọ affect ọtụtụ n'ime anyị bụ ụmụaka nke ndị oyibo na-akpọ psychological trauma ọfịazi anyị arụ to conform to the norm, to conform to student authority mana gbakwa anyị ejerekwa ori anyị nwere mkpamkpa mana isi ike dị ya agụa n'ebe a amapụta agụa n'ebe a amapụta a na-achọ ebe anyị adjust o mekwa ọtụtụ ndị otu m ụfọdụ sizi ebe a pụọ jee zụba afịa ụfọdụ anyị riri nne o mere affect psychologically at that time. Agụgide m gụa ya secondary school ahụ mana nnukwu efe ịrịba ama na m gụrụ n'ụlọ akwụkwọ 11 ma solukwa ndị otu m wee graduate ya ọ bụrụ obere ife ka ọ bụ bụrụ obere ife esizikwa m ebe a jebe obodo oyibo ka m gụsizi jebe nna m si na mma eje obodo oyibo ka m jee gụọ akwụkwọ gụọ yunivasiti ejewekwa m obodo oyibo a lue tere aka eme kuu na Nigeria wee cut off all foreign exchange weekwa mgbe ahụ wee lụba ọrụ wee na-ewekọba ego wee na-akwụrụ onwe m ụgwọ akwụkwọ ya bụ na ọtụtụ mmadụ bịa kịta na-asị m Igwe, you were born with a silver spoon. Ana m amụfe amụ maka ya bụ silver spoon was yanked and thrown away from 1967 agha Biafra bido elukwa n'obodo oyibo ọrụ maka ụfọdụ ụmụaka na-asị ndị otufa ndị befa n'obodo oyibo zitela anyị ego na ịchọ ime nke ịchọ ime nke anyị onye na-amara afụfụ ndị obodo oyibo na-ata n'ọrụ na ọ bụrụ ụdị a na-abụ ije ọrụ gbasịsọ ya ije gbasịsọ ya na naanị imisiri anụ ọrụ achụwa ya n'ọrụ na ịnweta ọrụ fịara arụ mana agụbazi m gụsịa agụ m theater arts amaghị nọkwa m other English language and the humanities mana mgbe m ji wee gụsịa nata bidozie company nke m ebido m na advertising company na-edekwa scripts for television stations. They produce we're a production company. They produce young musicians, because we had a band in DMGS called the Dengramites. One of the schools go International School Ibadan. International School Ibadan, I'm the lead guitar player for the school band and about vibrations. International School Ibadan was truly an international school. Ọtụtụ ndị na-enwesizi ụlọ akwụkwọ fa na-akpọ international school, mana ilu ebe a ọ bụrụ sọ ndị be anyị na-agụ na ya. Mana International School Ibadan at that time, 1971, 72, 70, 71 kind of Gabazia DMGS. As at that time, Ogen Rapple, all 26 flags now flying at the school. And each flag represented the different nationalities now going at the school. Onye Korea never apwa, a wet flag. Onye Afghanistan or a German or whatever, but I hoisted their flag. So they had all the flags, So I was the lead guitar player. I was always interested in music from childhood, playing percussive instruments. And I learned how to play the guitar during the war. And I am Bezia DMGS. D-Mites of DMGS was already existing. When I'm a guitar player, they came to me to come to one of their rehearsals. And I started playing with Frankie Zwara, was also a guitar player. CKC produced Vin Iketuonya for us. Vin Naguna CKC. And one or Dukwe, Naguna CKC. Both played bass guitar, and they played with us. So D-Mites of DMGS also had some CKC boys playing with us. But predominantly, Chuchu Okediadi, Chuck Stone, was our keyboard player. Then Dan Dallas, who later became the lead guitar player, the lead vocalist for a very popular band then, and it was Sweet Breeze. When we all traveled, some of us traveled abroad, then the remnants of the band now started this new, a very popular band called Sweet Breeze. Yes. And, well, the rest is history. Nke a bụ the Igbo version. This is the original copy. Nke a bụ akwụkwọ nke mbụ ọ dịrị. Ngosi ya. Ife dị ebe a bụ akụkọ ala obosi na ọnwụ nke ala Igbo niile. Azi dịka okwu Igbo mbụ nke nwa Igbo. Onye dere ya bụ Israel, my grandfather Israel Igwe Iweka. Ejikọtara dee site n'aka Mr. I.E. Iweka n'ụlọ. Ọka bụrụ eze mgbe o jide akwụkwọ. Ya bụ nwoke bụ Israel Igwe Iweka, eze Iweka nke mbụ. Ọtụtụ ife o mekwa, ụfọdụ n'ife o mere bụ na ọ nwụọ ya dị mgbe a na-akpọ yaws, YAWS. Yaws a bụ ọnya ulcer na-atagide mmadụ, taluo ya na bone n'ọkpụkpụ, a na-afụ ọkpụkpụ anya. Ndị gboo na-ewelu mkpa akwụkwọ dị iche iche wee sụchie ya bụ oyere ebe yaws a tapụrụ mmadụ ọkpa. Onye nwa na-aga ijiji a na-afịọsi ya n'azụ. Ya lụzie oge ọgwụ oyibo pụtaba. Ya bụ Israel Iweka, formerly Eze Iweka 1. Ọka bụrụ Eze Iweka 1 mgbe ahụ. ọbịa oje kpọta ndị a na-akpọ chemists and druggists egoro ọgwụ ikekwa bụrụ penicillin n'oge apụtago penicillin apụtago wee baa na interior beyond Obosi wee na-etreat ndị nwe yaws and malaria free of charge ọ ka o si wee lụkwa Iweka Road ọbịa na anị ọkwụwa ya ụgwọ anị ego oje bie ego wee na-alụ ya bụ ọrụ gosi na mmadụ pụta o wepụta onwe ya ka ọ bịa wee savụa ndị mmadụ humanity ọ bụrụ nta ego ka ọ na-achụ onwe ife a na-eme ọ nwekwa trade school ya mma egosi ya ebe ọ na-azụpụta ndị aka ọrụ ife emebere na trade school ya dị ife ya na ndị apprentice ya na-afụ ya you may want to zoom on it ya na ndị apprentice ya dị ife ya na nwunye ya nọ n'iru oche oku nwa ya na ndị trainees ya gasịzi mgbe ahụ ọ bụrụ na ọ zụsịa anyị o nyeghị certificate certificate a ka ihe ejizi wee pụọ nke a bụ some of the furniture ọ na-alụgasị mgbe ahụ efughị ya ọzụba anyị zụsịa anyị o nyeghị certificate a ka ihe ejizi wee pụzịa jebezie ma ndị ya esizi ụzọ Delta ụzọ Yoruba ịlụzi gosi certificate ya inweta n'ụlọ akwụkwọ Eze Iweka na certificate ya dị ife ọ na-enye n'oge gboo ahụ ilezi efu ya ewe ma na ya bụ akwụkwọ na ijelu ya n'isi oge ọ na-alụ Iweka Road ha ngwa anyị n'ọlụgidelue naanị ọkwụwa ya ụgwọ anị wee na-aga nke a bụ ndị Christian converts enwe mgbe ahụ Christian converts Obosi ede ya n'oyibo ebe a the history of Obosi and of Igbo land in brief, partially translated from the Igbo copy. Again, okay. Ka nchọtazịa ebe so ọ wee efe nwanne m nwoke ka ngụgharị ahụ nọ ọ kwesịrị nwanne m nwoke a bụ injinia Onyechi Iweka ọ gụkwa na DMGS anyị enwego 3 generations of DMGS students na-achọzi ya ndị bụ Iweka maka Igwe Iweka Eze Iweka 2 and Owele Obosi bụ Dr. J.E. Iweka bụ my father were the first generation. Then the second generation bụrụzia Rob Iweka, former Attorney General of the old Anambra State, Rob Iweka. Then after them bụrụzia grandchildren Eze Iweka 1 jekwa DMGS Seloka aka nnafa Nzube ịmafe ọfụma amekwu ọseti unu so na anyị nwekọ 3 generations of DMGS students in the Iweka family. Yes, What happened? I met them. I came from Ibadan, International School, Ibadan. I met them as Dengramites, as DMites. Mana Fana Kozilum, they used to tell me that they were answering Dengramites. But some of the old boys, but due to the fact that they now became a very efficient rock band in those days. So Anna Mozifaebu, they were being invited to play in different places, including clubs, brothels, hotels, secondary school graduations, Imagoma girls' school graduations, and so on. But due to the fact that they made their money more when they were called to perform professional performances, hotels, Top 2-1, Frontline Hotel, Odiaba, and some of them were brothels in those days. So the old boys of DMGS felt that it wasn't good for the image of the school for them to be. And we used to leave the dormitory sometimes at night to go and perform somewhere, you know. And so I think they were coerced to change that name from Dengramites to DMites. Yes. We even performed at Hotel Presidential, Pit Pat Pub in Amoabia, and we were going outside the state to perform there, different places. I am the third in Iweka family, the fourth in my Umunna kindred, and the 32nd, 34th or so, 32nd in Obosi. These are some of the past kings. Emma Obosi, Bo Obosi na Ojoto na Alo, bụ ụmụnne. Ị bịa tinyelụ ndị Ụmụọnaje na Asaba na ndị Ụmụeke a na Ibuzo. Ụmụeke a na Ibuzo. Fasi nri ana na-akọ akwụ na Arochukwu ka fasi initially wee bata nri. Fa bụ ụmụnne wee si ya bụ nri wee gbadataba Alọ nọdụ ebe fa nọ. Ndị ọzọ Obosi Adike bụ afa ya bụ nwoke, ọ na-agba nta, ọnwa wee gbadata Ojoto wee sizie Ojoto. Obosi wee na-abịa na-agba nta n'ebe anụnwa anyị bi kịta bụ Obosi, ọ na-abịa agba nta. Emesizi ọ sị na anụ dị ebe a rinne ka ya lụwa ụlọ. N'ụlọzi ụlọ a ọlụsị ọda wee sị na anị ebe a nwekwa ka ọ dị na ọ na-ebosisi ebe a ka ya afọ Obosi a si wee pụta. Pazabazi otu obodie zabazie Obosi, ọbazi otu onye a si bụrụ Ojoto, nke ọzọ bụrụ Alọ, nke a bụ afafa personal names. Ya na ka o si wee dị. Nwanne ya nwoke gafezie mmiri Naija wee jebe Ibuzo, Ọnaje, jebe Asaba, bụzie village na Asaba. Ụmụeke a bụrụkwa a village, a kindred na Ibuzo. Ọ ya mere na ime ọtụtụ ife ndị Ụmụọnaje na-abịa, ndị Ụmụọnaje Asaba na-abịala anyị, ndị Ụmụeke a ndị Ibuzo na-abịakwa. Ụfọdụ ndị jebekwazi Ụmụna Nkwọ, ya bụ na Ọgbarụ, ndị Obosikapa bụkwa. Enwee ndị jebe obodo a na-akpọ Obosima, Obosi fa na-akpọ Obosima, mana Obosima na Imo steeti bụkwa ndị Obosi. ọkọsidi enwezi ajụjụ eju maka ndị eze eze izizi eze obosi afịa bụ Shime Shime bụ afịa ụmụ ya ndị nke ọ mụtara emesizi ọ bụrụ aka na-abọzi bụ ife na-echi anya bụ eze na obosi ofu aka bụ ọkwasara ofu aka nke ọzọ bụrụ eze agụ mụnwa bụ eze agụ ọ ndị ọkwasara achịsi ndị ikwu nne m the two, so I come from the two royal houses of Obosi, my mother's people and my father's people. So ndị ọkwasara chisia ọbụla eze agụ chisia ọbụla ọkwasara. That's what makes up the royal family in Obosi. Ndị ọkwasara na eze agụ a jointly combined ka a na-akpọzi ụmụ Shime, ụmụ eze Shime, maka Shime bụ onye mụta afa. Yes. Otu a ka esi chiri ya bụ eze wee na-aga ikekwa enenebe n'akwụkwọ nna nna m bụ Israel Ebo enwekwa ebe also a sort of tree gbasara onye bụ kingship. I emerged as how will I put it, Igwe elect, so to say, Igwe elect, quote unquote, in the later part of 2011. And my coronation came in 2012. So my becoming king was, it was prophesied for 17 years before I became, before I finally became. And the prophecies were very strange. They came from even mad people on the street. They came from priests. They came from people like Bishop Benjamin Akosa of World Outreach Mission, Jos and Lekki in Lagos. He had called me Igwe Iweka III for 8 years before I became Igwe Iweka. My sister, who was a female pastor with Tracon, a certain church, Pentecostal church called Tracon, once came, they lived in Makodi, she's late now, once came from Makodi and said, I came to address your wife. I want her, I don't want anybody to call her Kosi Sochukwu again. Find a title for her because she's the queen of the land. Then when it came closer, my predecessor, Igwe Iweka, was still alive when people, neighbors, so they called, I saw you on the throne. One person will call, I saw you in a dream. You were leading the chairs in the Obosi to Eke Market. Because Eke Market is the final rites. When you are made Igwe elect and you become Igwe Obosi, quote unquote, you are not Eze Obosi until you perform the final rites of going to Eke Market. In the olden days, and it was still so in these modern days, because I experienced it, all the native doctors, all the bad people, all the sorcerers will wait for you, and that day you will go to Eke Market to see that you don't come back. But after you go to Eke Market and trade at the Eke Market and come back, then you become Eze Obosi. In fact, some of these 33 kings or so, like I've said, I'm the 33rd. actually get if you now go back in history to pinpoint the actual number, I may be the 29th king or 28th, because there were times in the olden days where there were 3 Igwes or 4 Igwes, all struggling over the Igweship. But there will be one Eze. You cannot have 2 Ezes in Obosi, because it's only one that went to Eke market and traded and came back. You understand? And that was how the prophecies finally came true. And I never wanted it, because I know what my grandfather went through, the fights, the opposition, well, they said he was poisoned because he achieved so much and still died at the age of 53 or so, 53 or 54, having built this first upstairs in the entire area, built Iweka Road, treated diseases with chemists and druggists, wrote the first history of Igbo land, Obosi and Igbo land. But guess what? He was a writer, and I'm a writer, and according to my family records, I am Iweka 1. I came back, and I'm talking about reincarnation. So when I was born, like I told you how I was greeted, heralded by the masquerade, Ayaka masquerade that sang in front of the maternity when I was born. And then there were messages, spiritual messages, telling my parents that Iweka 1 has come back to their house. And that was why they kept calling me Nana. Nana was my name from birth till I was 10 years old, and I went to my father and I said, Papa, Nana is like boy or titi. I don't know if you're familiar with this. In those days, every little girl was titi, and every small boy was boy. And some people, it took over their names. And they start answering boy or bomboy. You have your name, Chukwuka or Namdi, but that bomboy will take over your name. So I told my father, Nana is like bomboy, I won't answer it anymore. He said, what do you want? I said, give me another name. He said, but you have a name, Albert Chidubem. And I said, okay. And he said, why don't you answer your initials, AC? That's why a lot of people know me as AC Iweka. But because of my Pan-African inclinations, I threw Albert away about 30, 40 years, because I don't answer, I don't give my children English names, and I rejected the English name, not out of racism, but the fact that we as Africans have to start claiming our identity, our language, our culture. I've never seen a white man answering Chidubem. So I threw Albert away. Some people call me Albert, maybe to annoy me, but I'm not annoyed because it's my name. I just rejected it. Okay? Yeah. So I became Obosi. I became Igwe Obosi in 2011, and I became Eze Obosi in 2012, after I visited and traded at the Eke market and came back wholesome and came back alive. We saw all the signs of the spiritual attacks. So that's how I became Obosi. Before it finally happened, there had been roughly 24 prophecies or 25. I will go with you to your church, and all of a sudden the pastor will say, I see a crown on your head. Go and prepare. Things like that. And each time my heart will go like, I will be seized with this debilitating fear, terror. Me, become king? No way. I can't handle it because it's too much wahala. I know what my uncle went through. I know what my grandfather went through. Even my great-grandfather, who was a warrior chief, I know what they went through. So why me? That's why when I see people in different towns struggling over kingship, I'm puzzled. Because I know it's a ton of work. It's too much work. But with the grace of God, God makes the load lighter. Like they say in Igbo land, Eze dialo, Eze builo. Every person who wanted to be king will be attacking you in one way or the other. People you don't know will tell you how bad you are, and how wicked you are, and how dangerous you are. But it's all part of the challenges that come with it. Yeah. So I became as Obosi at a time when Obosi, not just Obosi, when the environs were very, very bad, very turbulent. That's when I became king. In the midst of all the kidnapping, the drug infested zones all around us, the armed robbery, assassinations, and of course, when I finally, before I rejected, I said, when they called me, come, we were all backing Dr. Onwekusi to be king from my kindred. He was the one we were all backing. So when those prophecies were coming, pointed at me, I rejected it. When Dr. Onwekusi finally said, I have prayed and I'm not your king is out there, go and look for him. So I was vexed. I went back to my house in Enugu. I said, whatever goes, you guys go and look for the person. It's not me. But calls started coming in. Come on, you are the one. We've asked questions spiritually now, you are the one. I said, no, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I can't be the one. But eventually, two different people, one a priest, one a native doctor. By the way, I'm not into that. I'm a practicing Christian through and through. I have no charms, I have no aloe, I have no other deity but Jehovah God through Jesus Christ of Nazareth. That's whom I worship. People call it Oyibo, Okanda, Okandiacha. But I made a speech at the town hall telling people that Christianity abro Okandiacha at all. Jesus Christ was not the Jesus of London. He was not the Jesus of Germany. It was not the Jesus of those 5 people that carved Africa up in the Berlin conference and took over Africa. Jesus Christ was Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And those Nazarites were not Europeans. It's just that the white people saw the essence. They saw the benefits of Christianity, and they more or less hijacked it and started spreading the gospel as if it was their personal property, but it wasn't. The Israelites did not enslave us. It was those 5, well, there were more than 5 up to 9, including Britain, Germany, the Portuguese first, and others, who enslaved us, took us away as slaves. So, where was I? You edited. Yeah, I lost my trend.
Yes. When you said no, you were not going to.
Yes. So I said I would not. But two people, one a native doctor and one a priest. The priest called me. The priest called me. Has it stopped? Should I continue?
Yes.
The priest called me and said, "We'll chant here for my AC." That's what they used to call me. Chidubem. Clean your ears very well and listen. I said, I have. Clean your eyes. He said it 3 times. I said, you want me to clean your ears? And I said, you want me to puncture my eardrum? Speak. And he said, Obosi people, he's not an Obosi man. He's a man from Ukbo, they call Gilbert Ezabal, who had a mission at Ogidi. So it has nothing to do with Obosi. He doesn't know what's happening in Obosi. He called me and said, the Obosi people, he was prophesying. The Obosi people are going to ask you to be king. And you will refuse. I said, yes, it's happening already. I have refused. He said, if you refuse, makana obolo na ejulu gaba. He said, if you refuse to become king, you will be lost in the wilderness for the rest of your life. My heart went, phew. I was so weak, I couldn't stand up. I had to sit down. I said, this thing is closing in on me. Then the one that's a native doctor called me. In fact, he was a friend. At that time, I didn't know he was a native doctor. He called me and he said, I told you a dream 6 months ago where people were holding you and you were acting like you're mad, insane. And I don't know what that dream is. I said, yes, you told me that dream about a year ago. He said, no, it is exactly 6 months ago because I had another dream and the voice said, go and tell this man what the dream we showed you 6 months ago. Only see Galaga. Jegwea. No eze kobo, no eze obosi kobo, mana oju. Nke nu aikpuyeri n'ọnwa isii gara aga. That one we showed you where he was crazy 6 months ago. He was mad. That one would manifest. Same message, different spiritualists, but pointing at the same thing. That was when I surrendered and I prayed and I said, God, since it's your will, I accept. That was how I became Ezobis. And the turbulence from 2012, it was war. War against the drug dealers, the drug barons. War against the what do you call them? The kidnappers. The armed robbers. The armed robbery was at peak then. And I kept fighting and fighting. And when you fight crime, crime fights back. I take people and we leave the palace here. We visit the house of everybody that says there's an armed robber that lives here. We come to your house. There's a kidnapper that lives here. We come to your house. Drug dealers will raid your house and cut away your drugs and burn them. We call NDLA, they will come and pick up everything, we record it and sign. So the first assassination attempt came, they stormed my palace here and shot my security man down. But he didn't die, luckily. The following year, they came again, shot my security man in the chest. The other one was running up the staircase of this, and they shot him in the leg. Then the third assassination attempt was when they waylaid my my small convoy in the coming down from Port Junction side, and shot my my jeep. Shot, and the policeman in front of my was shot in the arm. And then attempts, different attempts, people try, and that is all coming from the criminal world. Like I said, when you fight crime, crime fights man. Yes. But every time I make a raid around the town, 5 hours, I will go through town visiting every kidnapper's den, every armed robber, every drug baron, every... After that, the town will be calm for 6 months. You wouldn't hear him. And of course, I was liaising with the police, with the army. After the third assassination attempt, the governor came here with the police commissioner, and then the army left their team here to be looking over us. And well, one thing led to the other, and eventually the town became very calm. And with this new innovation by Governor Chukwuma Soludo, the Aguna Chamber and the Udogachi, we now end up the place. Obosi has no more problem with all that violence, and we now go to sleep and sleep with both eyes open, closed. We sleep with both eyes closed now, and we are happy, and we look into God that it will continue to be calm. Then another problem we had was cultism. But I can tell you that for the past 4 years now, we haven't had any cult killing in Obosi. And that is first, the grace of God. Secondly, efforts. We called all the boys, the senior boys who were into cultism, and they came here, and I said, what do we do? I have realized that cult, the brand of cultism that you young boys are plying now, is a one-way street. What do you call it, the California Hotel, or what do you call that thing? You check in, but you cannot check out. I made a strong research and realized that most of the boys, the senior boys who were in cult those days, university, village cultism, and all that, because the cult has now moved from the 4 walls of erudition into the villages, and that's the most deadly part of it. So I told them, how many people, how many of you are still enjoying your cult initiation? They said, no, nobody. Now, why don't we all come together and renounce it? Because if I go now from 8 years ago, I can produce for you more than 100 and something cult denouncements. Because we used to go after them, go to their homes, and they will abscond. And some come home, or their parents will call them, Igwe came to your house, or is looking for you, or something you committed. They say, so Igwe knows me. He will run to Lagos, he won't come back again for a long time. Some will get my phone number and call me, Igwe, I want to come back. I'll be a good boy. I say, okay, come. I will come here, we'll talk. So we said, now, since you guys have realized that you joined cultism, but you cannot, you denounced in the church, you renounced in motorized announcements, you renounced in the newspaper, you renounced in everywhere. I don't follow again. But still, when a cult war starts, you stand in the street corner waiting for keke, they gun you down. So that means you can never come out. What do? Let us have a mass renouncement of cultism. So we picked a date, went to the Obosi Stadium. there were hundreds of boys who were cultists, and they all renounced and said, no more cultism. In Obosi today, we don't have any divisions of this one is Aye, this one is this is that. Our boys have come together, and that is why for the past 3-4 years, nobody has been killed. There were months where 14 boys were shot in this town. There were flimsy flimsy event of over a girlfriend, which is most ridiculous. But now there's no more cultism. If they are doing it as whatever they are doing underneath. But we know now that whenever we hear, we have feelers in the village. Whenever we hear there's a misunderstanding, we have people, the movement against cultism in Obosi, headed by Obi Chukwuzi Kanyafolo, who was the spearhead that worked with me personally to say that it is. And on that day, we set up a banner, a big banner, featuring all the boys that were killed in cultism. And some of them were not active cultists. You see that? The ones who get killed easily are the non-active ones who have an attitude of I no follow again. But when war starts, you follow. So we thank God that our boys here in Obosi, the opposition submitted about 8 pages of what they said that Igwe kills people, that I kill people, that I do this and do that and all that. But then I submitted records of my crime fighting escapades for the past 13 years. I got like 200 and something pages and whittled it down to 188 very cogent pages. And of course, the government saw the truth. And that was it. I have 8 children. I have my 2 firstborns, girls. They live in America. They're professionals in their fields. The next one is a medical doctor who practices abroad. The one after that is a lawyer who is also abroad. The one next to him is a businessman who does business. The next one is an engineer now doing his youth service. And I have 2 younger ones who are 2 younger girls who are in the university now. So that's quite a large family. Well, I'm married 2 Americans and 1 Nigerian. The wife I live with now is my missing rib, whom I've been with for going on 20 years now. And we live so peacefully. Yes. She is the queen of the land. Her name is Igwe Iweka. Yeah? And she runs a foundation called Iweka Child Development Foundation. And she's very successful, and she has been a pillar in my life. And she hails from Isuochi in Abia State. That's the queen of this land. When you talk about Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo, he's a man of many parts. A professor, let me say that this new title that was bestowed upon him, Oluwatuegwu, is so befitting because he works as that like there's no tomorrow. He works really hard. In Obosi Kingdom, he has built so many roads for us. He has built a smart school in one of our secondary schools, reduced or nullified cost, school fees, alleviating the problems of indigent parents who find it hard to pay school fees for their children. Roads, is it the roads he has built? Is it the fun city? Is it the, where do I start? So if I start to talk about his achievements, we'll be here for longer than we have spent already. So he's a working governor. He's a governor that has his people at heart. And like I said, he works as if there's no tomorrow. And that is phenomenal. That is remarkable. So we are really happy to have such a man, an erudite professor, who works so hard for his state to be a great place to live. People are now coming back from the north, from Lagos especially, down back to Anambra State to develop. There's an article I read yesterday which spells out so much about his work. In the history of Anambra State, politically, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, governor of Anambra State, is the first governor that the Anambra, prominent Anambra people, including Ndi Obosi, are not saying, Governor, okay, you are visiting our community. Please, we will need about 100 million to host you, which most politicians would. But different towns, well-to-do people, wealthy people, even people that are not so wealthy, are coming together, pulling their funds together, and asking, pleading for the governor to visit. And many places he visits, people will say, Governor, please, here's 15 million, here's 100 million, here's 200 million for your campaign. It has never been so in Anambra State. I don't know about other states, but in Anambra, no, it has never been like that. So that tells you the acceptance that people have for him. You know, that tells everything. Well, DMGS, Dennis Memorial Grammar School, has been, from inception, one of the most prominent secondary schools in Nigeria, and possibly beyond. And DMGS, in my family, is like a family tradition. And like I said, we now have 3 generations of DMGS, with my uncle, Igwe Iweka II, being pioneer and first senior prefect of Dennis Memorial Grammar School, DMGS. So DMGS, like I said, and so it is also in Obosi Kingdom, DMGS produced a lot of prominent Obosi people, and including my father and my uncle and others, and myself too. I was a student of DMGS. So I wouldn't bother to talk more about the prominence of DMGS because it's very obvious. Yes. However, I am quite impressed. The efforts of Doba, the efforts of the DMGS old boys, the efforts they have made to keep that school going. to maintain the school, to build up the school, to keep the prominence of the school. It's fantastic. It's really phenomenal. So I use this forum to urge the old boys of DMGS, as the old ones pass, the young ones that are coming up, to maintain that zeal, to maintain that support of the school, so that the school will always retain its very icon and very prominent image. So I'm very happy. I pray that this 100-year celebration will be a phenomenal success. It will be a great success. And I also pray for the Bishop of the Niger, Right Reverend Dr. Owen Wokolo, that God will give him the strength and every wherewithal to continue to nurture and project that school to higher heights. Thank you. Okay, I didn't present my work to you because I spoke mostly of, well, as I told you, that it's not my claim, it's not a personal claim by me, but it was part of my history from when I was born, that it was the Igwe Iweka one that came back to life. And even then, they didn't know that eventually, one day, I will sit on his throne. This throne is the same throne he sat on, as you can see from the pictures over there. This throne is as old as this house, 1908. And he built it himself in his furniture school, which I think you have captured from there. And he was the first author. Apart from Elaude Ekeano's book, who was a slave that was taken out from Africa and later on gained prominence in the UK, Igwe Iweka's book, the one I showed you, was the first history book that was published in 1924. Okay? So now I came back. I returned. Also as a writer. This is my first published book. I've been writing since I was 16. Since I was 14, I've been writing short stories and things. The Ancient Cross was published in 2007, and it was shortlisted for the Kensaro Wiwa Prize in Prose by the Association of Nigerian Authors, which it finally won, and I went to Mina with the Anambra team to receive the award. Though they finally said that it missed by a month based on the requirements. So that's the Ancient Cross. My second book is used in a dozen universities for literature all around the country. My second book is So Bright a Darkness, a full novel, and it has a lot of mystery, spiritual things. Well, you know, when you say spiritual, people think it's all about Christianity, and it has. Some of my works, they are not meant to be horror stories, but I hear people say, oh, I was reading it and it was after midnight and I still looking around and was the only one in the sitting room, so I rushed. So this is also was used in some universities for literature also. These two are, this is prose and this is prose. They are novels, fiction. This is a drama. And this one was long listed for the Nigerian Book Prize. NLNG's Nigerian Book Prize. It's called August Inmates. Okay? It was recently enacted at UNM. Enacted. They tried to get fee and everything. This is my fourth published book. It's a poetry, a collection of 58 poems called Reflections of Hope. And then last 2 years, my unpublished manuscript, which they called for the James Curry Prize in the UK, I submitted it for Africa. Out of 80 books from all over Africa, my book called Kindred Beyond also was longlisted. And currently, by next year, I will publish a history book called Oakland Many Miles, which is a book I've been working on for 11 years. And I've written many works while working on that history book, because it's a collection of data, different data. But when that one comes out, I believe, by the grace of God, it will be read and heard. So let me stop here. Thank you.